Hello, welcome to the Chronicler's Land. For this video, I will be known as the Chronicler, who is the person who collects and writes stories, hence my little notebook and fancy looking pen. In this video, I will be recommending you many books that fit the prompts for the Make Your Myth Take a Readathon. I don't have recommendations for every prompt, and obviously some of them are more personal, but I have some suggestions. But there are so many and I haven't counted them, and I have a horrible feeling there are over 100. But anyway, before I start the recommendations, I would like to talk to you about the competition I will be running. Basically, for the Make Your Myth Take a Readathon, you can create your own myth taker who is a character from mythology, like a queen, an assassin, a jester, a Viking, anything. I will link all the information about it down below. But I have offered to publish any short stories that people might write on the blog. In line with this, I will also be running a short story competition if there is enough interest, where the winner will win a book of their choice up to £15 on BookDepository, preferably a myth or history retelling. But yeah, if there's enough interest, I'm really happy to run this and I'm really excited to, and that's why I'm now called the Chronicler. And because this video is so long, I'm just going to get in and talk about the books I will be recommending. I'm also going to lose this, what should be a cloak, but it's just actually a bit of material. I'm going to be looking down at my laptop, so I'm not just ignoring you. The first group is the Warriors, and the first on that list is the Knight. So, for favourite author, obviously I don't know your favourite author, but my favourite authors include Hollyborn, Angie Sage and Samantha Shannon, so I might read something by one of them. Other recommendations from like popular booktube, loved authors include Leigh Bardugo, Sarah J Maas and Alice Oseman, so maybe if you've read Heartstopper, read one of her novels. Next, for all of the Warriors, is a book with a weapon on the cover, so you could include Shadow of the Fox by Julie Kukawa and Those Above by Daniel Polanski. Then continue a series which could take you on a separate path. Again, I don't know what books you've read in the series, I don't know what series you've started but not finished, and so I'm going to suggest some myth take reads, like first books in the series, so you could read the second ones. So The Kingdom of Copper by S.A. Chakraborty, Son of the Shadows by Juliet Marillier, Testament of Loki by Joanne M. Harris, something. The Girl Who Speaks Bear by Sophie Anderson, and Arusha and the Song of Death by Roshani Trotsky. Also coming out around that time is The Damned by Renée Ade, which is the second book in the, I don't know what the series, but is the sequel to The Beautiful. Next, as a knight, you must go on a quest to find or save something, so you could read Stardust by Neil Gaiman, The Wren Hunt by Mary Watson, which was the original Myth Take Reads book, and in that book, Wren, the main character, goes to find something for the augurs and goes to steal it from the judges. Or you could read The Rosie Project by Graham Simmerson, which I'm sneakily putting in because it's not technically a quest, but the main character Don in it wants to find a wife, and therefore he is going on a quest to find a wife, sort of. Next, as a gladiator, the first prompt is Training or Fighting. Before that, you could read Nevernight by J. Kristoff or Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hood. For weapon on the cover, you could read Matilda, Empress, Queen, Warrior by Catherine Hanley, which is actually a non-fiction book, so slightly different, or Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas. For an outsourced book, which is basically an audiobook or an ebook, I have recommended Sadie by Courtney Summers or Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which are really good audiobooks. Like, I listen to them as audiobooks and would really recommend that format as being the way you read the book. And then for the prompt where you have to read a book over 500 pages, I have recommended the book The Diviners by Libba Bray, and also On a Sunbeam by Tilly Warden, because that is a 500-page graphic novel and therefore quite a good one if you want to read a quick one, but obviously you have to read something long. As a mercenary, the first prompt is to read an anticipated read, so I'm just suggesting some that I know a lot of people have been talking about. The first is The Ballad of Songbird and Snakes, which will have come out in time for this readathon, and also The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I know so many people were excited for it to come out and have avoided reading it because they anticipated it so much. Now I have a mark on my head. Again, for a weapon on the cover, I have suggested To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo and Among Thieves by Douglas Hewlett. For a magic battle, I have suggested The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang and The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. It is a big book, but you've got a month to read it and it is so worth it. Inspired by history and legend, I have included The Mercies by Kieran Millward Hargrave, which is inspired by history. Monsters by Sharon Dogar, which I think is like the story of Mary Shelley. And A History of the World with a Women book back in by Kirsten Looker and Uten Shell, which is a non-fiction that says what it does on the cover. As a Viking, the first thing you'll have to do is travel to a cold place, so I've suggested The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden and North Child by Edith Patu, which again, whilst it's a long book, is a middle grade, so it might be a bit easier to read. For weapon on the cover, I have suggested The Empire of Dreams by Ray Carson and Goddess of the Hunt by Shelby Eileen. For the prompt featuring a journey, we have Love from A to Z by S.K. Ali and The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. For an overhyped book, I controversially, because when I mentioned it to Sam he disagreed with me, put Six of Crows or The Grishaverse by Leigh Bardugo, and he suggested 50 Shades of Grey by E.L. James. The next set of prompts is for the Royal Court, and the first person obviously in the Royal Court is the monarch. So the first prompt is to read a Queen main character, so I have The Queen of Coins and Whispers. I don't know which way, is it coins or coin? By Helen Corcoran. This comes out I think in May or June. It was meant to come out in April and it keeps getting pushed back and I can't remember when it does actually come out. Next we have The Queen of the Tearlin by Erica Johnson and Star-Touched Queen by Roshani Chokshi, who is the author of Arishar, which is the current Myth Take Reads group pick. All of the characters in the Royal Court, the cover recommendation is royal colours on the cover, so that's red, purple and gold. So I've suggested Dark and Deepest Red by Anna Marie McLemore and Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Niana. For the highest rated on your TBR, that is obviously very personal. If you go on Goodreads, there's the option to like list it by highest rating. The highest rated actual book is The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J Maas, or at least the highest rated book I could read. Some were sequels to ones I hadn't yet read, and this is a prequel, so I'm not actually sure I could read that, but anyway, it's just a suggestion to show you. And also The Sky Atlas, and I don't know who that's by, but that's not a proper book, that's kind of like a referencey book, I think. Then again, quite a personal one, but reader favourite, so I've suggested Harry Potter books by J.K. Rowling, The Hunger Games books by Suzanne Collins. Twilight is a lot of people's favourite guilty pleasure kind of read, and also the next Twilight book's coming out, so you might as well start rereading that soon. And John Green, because a lot of people really liked John Green back in the day. The next character is a courtier, and the first prompt is a big cast of characters. So first I have suggested Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin, which is obviously a junk again. Into the Crooked Place by Alexandra Christo. Quite short, quite quick, I seem to remember, and people really enjoy it. And also City of Brass, which again was an early Myth Take Reads group pick, and I loved it, and I know most other people have. I'd also recommend the audiobook for that one. It's really good, it's narrated really well, and so if you don't want to actually read it, go for the audiobook. Again, the next prompt is royal colours on the cover, so I have suggested Daughters of Henri by Rennie K. Ameo and The Sisters Grimm by Mena van Praag. Next is Continuous Series again, so that's the one where you can swap from one path to the next. So obviously again it's personal, but I'm just going to tell you a couple of the series I need to continue, and that includes What's a Girl Got to Do from the Spencer Club series and Lair of Dreams, which is the second in the Diviners series. Next is to read a host favourite. So each of the hosts suggested 6 favourites and I've just chosen one from each. The first is A Sprinkle of Magic by Michelle Harrison. This is Ashley's pick, and again, cute, quick, middle grade book, so a very good choice for a readathon if you want to read lots of prompts. And then After the Fire, which I think is by Will Hill, who is one of Charlotte's favourites. The next character is The Royal Spy, and the first prompt is to read a book that you've heard good things about. So again, these are kind of like overhyped books, at least that's what I felt like when I went into them. So I've suggested Red, White and Royal Blue, which is by Casey McQuiston, and The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. The next prompt is the royal colours on the cover again, and so I've suggested The Power by Naomi Alderman and Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, because at least my version is just black and gold. Then we have a secret book, so can't help you there, I'm afraid. But for underhyped, I have recommended This Lovely City by Louise Hare, Nimona by Noel Stevenson, again graphic novel, so quick and also quite funny, and The Queen of Ifleria by Effie Calvin. I have heard a couple of people recommending it, but I've never actually heard an opinion on it, but I assume a recommendation is good. As a jester, the first prompt is to read a fun middle grade, so there is Nevermore, The Trials of Morrigan Crow by Jessica Townsend, or Starring Kitty by Karis Stainton. I've also never heard anyone talk about this, but when I read this for class, it was the only lesbian middle grade book in the UK, so we should be talking about it more, I feel. For royal colours on the cover, I have recommended Pages & Co., Tilly and the Book Wanderers by Anna James, and American Gods by Neil Gaiman. For the next prompt, books about books, I have The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow, Sorcery Thorns by Margaret Rogerson, and also The Bromance Book Club by Lissa K. Adams, which at least today, or only today, or as I looked today, was only 99p on the Kindle bookstore, so bargain. Then the final prompt for the jester is performance element, so you can have The Night Circus by Erin Morganson, or I think I might be wrong with this one, I haven't read it, The Kingdom by Jess Rothenberg. The next group of characters are the rogues, and the first is a bandit, so you have to steal a book. I have some books on the shelf behind me. You could steal one of these, you could steal one of your friends. I don't know, you can't actually go around and steal someone's books, so don't know how you're going to do that one. But if you want to steal a book from me, feel free, steal one off this list. Then for all of the rogues, the cover prompt is to read a book with a dark cover, so you have The Shadow Queen by C.J. Redwine or Sleep by C.L. Taylor. That's weird that they're both C something. Then featuring woodland, so I've suggested Uprooted by Naomi Novak or Wilder Girls by Rory Power, because I think that has plants even if it doesn't have words. Then there's the Myth Take group book, and for this month, or for the month that the readathon is going on, is The House of Salt and Sorrow by Erin A. Craig. Then as a pirate, your first prompt is a book featuring water, so I have suggested Ingo by Helen Dunmore or Mermaid Moon by Susan Kirkle. Don't really know what that latter one's about, but I'm interested in it, at least I was when I knew what it was about. Again, for a dark cover, I have suggested Witches of Ash and Ruin by E. Latimer and The Children of Jocasta by Natalie Haynes. That is a Greek myth retelling. It's good, I enjoyed it. Then for featuring a journey, we obviously have The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings by, oh god, who's it by? I didn't write this one down because I knew I'd remember it. Someone Talking, and The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. For a bargain book, I basically just went onto the Kindle store and looked at what the bargains were, and all bar the last one were 99p. So you have Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, Practical Magic by Alice Hoffman, The Tiger and the Wolf by Adrian Tchaikovsky, The Invisible Library by Genevieve Cogman, Children of Blood and Bone by Tommy Adeyemi, The Lido by Libby Page, and this one is the $1.99 one, which is Starfelt, Willow Moss and the Lost Day by Dominique Valent. But if you've got any, like me, in your ebook library, I always buy them when they're 99p, or like old charity shop picks or thrift store picks or just eBay buys, because I only buy things when they're cheap because I am cheap, and so most of the stuff on my shelf is a bargain anyway, and kind of if you have it, it's a bargain because you're not having to spend money on it currently. Then as an assassin, your first prompt is a friend pick, so as your friend I'm going to be suggesting Magic by Andy Sage, which is honestly my favourite book of all time. It's like the Harry Potter books, but the characters stay young. The best summary I heard of it was Harry Potter books, but based around the Weasleys and set in a castle with princesses and things. And it's so good. I can't stop talking about it enough. So if you want a recommendation from me, because if you consider me your friend, that's what I'd suggest. But also if you want to suggest like what kind of book you want, I will try and suggest one for you if you want me to pick you one. But I also do have a couple of friends here. So this is obviously a bit of a weird one. As you can see, I am sat on a phone call with two people. The person on the top is Sam, who's the other half of the blog. The person on the bottom is Rebecca, who's one of my best friends. I asked both of them to recommend me a book and thought I'd screen record the phone call, but it didn't save the sound. So Sam here is recommending the book Equations of Life by Simon Morden. Apparently it's like a dystopian, but kind of like not your classic YA dystopia in that everyone is sorted into houses or factions or districts or something like that. He also said it was the first book that made him realise that characters, or especially main characters, don't have to be likeable, they can just be interesting. Back then I did just note that the covers were weird, and Sam was pointing out that all of the covers were weird. I have just walked off because outside my door I heard a cat meowing. I think it was actually my sister meowing, pretending to be the cat, but I've gone to rescue the cat because they both like cats. Who doesn't like cats? So Becca is going to recommend the next book, but first I think I dance with the cat and say ow because the cat has really sharp claws. So Becca's recommendation for a book is 10 Things My Cat Hates About You by Lottie Lucas. It is a rom-com kind of book, so like a romance, but based on the cat not liking people or liking people. Becca chose it because it has cats and also because she really likes the film 10 Things I Hate About You, and I saw it just because the title caught my eye. I recommended it to Sam ages ago, and I know he got the sample off the Kindle store when it, well, he wouldn't have got it when it was cheap, he just got the sample. So read the first 6 pages and said it was really good, and I think we just all agreed that it's the kind of cute rom-com we needed in this day and age. Again, for the prompt dark cover, we have Set the Dark on Fire by Taylor K. Magia and Serpent and Dove by Shelby Muharin. So bad with names. Then for Secret Book, obviously I can't help you with that one again, but for a quick read I can recommend Princess Ever After by Katie O'Neill. It is 50 pages long, you can't get a lot quicker than that. The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary, because that's a proper read but it is quite quick. And The Pale Dreamer by Samantha Shannon, which is the prequel to the Bone Season books and is only about 90 pages long. As an Exile, the first prompt is banned books, so To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee, Madame Bovary by Gustave Flaubert, and a wildcard one here is Untango Makes 3 by Justin Richardson, because if you don't know what it's about, it's basically a kid's board book, so just like a picture book, and it got banned because it was about gay penguins. But it'd be a quick read, so read it. Again, for a dark cover, I have suggested Ash by Melinda Lowe, which is a Cinderella retelling, and Aurora Rising by J. Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. Speaking of J. Kristoff and Amy Kaufman, for an outsourced book, I'm recommending Illuminae because the audiobook for it is really good, but you should read the actual book with it. But like the audiobook production of it was really good. And for a disliked book, I have chosen The Cruel Prince by Holly Black, I think, which Ashley recently DNF'd. The Princess Saves Herself in this one by Amanda Lovelace. Charlotte didn't like this one, but I'm interested in reading it, so I thought I'd include it. And The Deathless Girls by Karen Millward Hargrave, which I didn't like. I rated it 3 stars. It was fine, but I didn't like the romance in it, and therefore I didn't like the book. Then the final group of people, I can't believe we're on the final people, are the Sorcerers, and the first one is The Goddess. And the first prompt is a non-human main character, so I have included The Frog Princess by E.D. Baker, very short middle grade, very cute, funny. Wicked Fox by Kat Cho, which is about a Gummyho, which is like a half human, half fox, but the fox has 9 tails. And Gospel of Loki by Joanne This is the one we had trouble with earlier, and she's coming up again now. Joanne M. Harris. Joanne something. Because Loki and all the other Asgardians are gods. The cover prompt for all of them is a book with a foiled cover, and I struggle with this one most because whilst a lot of books have foiling on them, I was just kind of mentioning them elsewhere, so you can pretty much include any, but I've just got one for each one instead of two. The first I have included is Meat Market by Juno Dawson. I finished this one recently, it's so good. It's a really interesting, thought-provoking, poignant read, but you have to be really aware of the trigger warnings going into it, so if you're interested in it, please look up the trigger warnings before you go into it, because I'd hate for you to be hurt by this book. Then you have to read, again, the highest rated on your TBR, so as I said earlier, and you have to randomise your TBR. So some people recommend like numbering all of them and then putting them in a random number generator, or doing a poll on like Twitter or something, or just ask me to choose between 6 or something and I will do that for you. For a witch, the first prompt is featuring an animal. So first I have A Fire and Stars by Audrey Coulthurst. This has many horses. The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. Apparently it has a dragon that thinks it's like a massive dragon, but it's actually a tiny dragon. It's like a chihuahua as a dragon, apparently. Next, as foiled cover, I have included The Blue Salt Road by... I thought I was going to trick myself into remembering, I can't. And again, featuring a magic battle, so we have The Hand, the Eye and the Heart by Zoe Marriott. We didn't like this, but I'm going to include it. And We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faisal. That one's good. The final prompt for a witch is a book with occult themes, so we have The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon and These Witches Don't Burn by Isabel Sterling. For fairy, the first prompt is featuring Fae, and for that I have included The Guinevere Deception by Kirsten White. This was quite a recent Mythic Reads group pick, and some of us liked it, more of us didn't. And also A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. The next for a foiled cover is Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Then for a book featuring woodlands, I have included Daughter of the Forest, which was the second Mythic Reads group pick. Again, super long, but if you just kind of like read a chapter every night, you get through it quite quickly. And Girl in the Tree by Sebnen Isguzel, which is quite a recent Turkish translation, I think, and it's on my TBR and I need to read it at some point. For books outside your comfort zone, I've just put what ones would be outside my comfort zone. I don't read a lot of non-fiction, but some non-fictions I've recently enjoyed include The Five by Hallie Rubenhold and Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls, which I can't remember who's that by, I didn't write that down, but I listened to this as an audiobook, so it was literally Goodnight Stories, and it was just really cute and fun and quick and easy to read. And also, obviously, listening as an audiobook wasn't a lot of effort, but the illustrations in it are great. And then I have also included Lies, Lies, Lies by Adele Parks, which is a mystery thriller kind of thing. Don't read a lot of those. The final character, I can't believe we're here, is the Oracle, and it recommends going into a book blind. So I have included Hear the World Entire by Anwen Kaya Hayward, I think. This and The Deep End of the Sea by Heather Lyon might be Medusa retellings. I don't know, I added them to my Amazon wishlist ages ago. I also have Heart and Soul by Kristen Burnham. For a foiled cover, I've included Circe, again by Madeline Miller, and The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry. Again, this is something I got from, where did I get it? From a charity shop, so it was only £1, so like I could also use this for the bargain book recommendation. For another book about books prompt, I have included Library of the Unwritten by AJ Hackworth and The Book Thief by Marcus Suzak. And the final recommendation is a 5-star prediction. So I have put 5 by Angie Sage. This is again quite personal to me because it's the final book in the September series and I've been putting it off for ages. And I hope it's 5 stars. I'll be sad if it's not. I've just counted. I think I've recommended 143. Why? Why should I do this? Oh, it's gonna be such a challenge to edit down. So anyway, yeah, If you've made it to the end of this video, or if you've just skipped your relevant bit, I don't blame you. But I hope you enjoyed it. I hope there is something helpful in here. I know a lot of people have already announced their TBR, but for those of you that haven't, I hope this is helpful, and I just needed to film it now because otherwise I'd come up with even more. Like, I started doing it the other day and I was like, 50 is not a lot. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it's helpful. I really hope some of you join in with my short story competition because I'm really looking forward to reading them. If you are interested and want to join in, please send your entries to theindecisivereaders.gmail.com. I will link that as well as my social media links, so if you have any questions or any queries or just want to talk, you can find me down below. And yeah, just I hope you have fun. I hope you join in, and I will see you all soon. Bye! I feel like a medieval Mary.